Hello there. This video explains how to install R in our studio on RPM-based Linux. That could be Red Hat, CentOS, Scientific Linux, Oracle Linux, or Fedora. This video, however, does not explains how to install R in our studio on Ubuntu Linux, and for that matter, Mac OS and Windows as well. So for all you people who use RPM-based Linux, whether it's version 6 or 7, this video is for you, and this is how we get started. Uh, Currently, this is my setup. I have a Red Hat machine running on the base hardware, bare metal, and on top of that, I have installed VMware Hypervisor, and on VMware Hypervisor, I'm running a CentOS machine. Now, it should not matter at all, but just so you should not get confused with these two icons. One is Red Hat, another one is CentOS. Uh, so this is because the virtual machine is CentOS on which I'm actively working and is running on top of Red Hat, which also hosts hypervisor. All right, so we will get into our console here, and installing R is very simple. Uh, you have to do first is get to a root, or if your user has a sudo privileges, then you can use sudo prefix sudo with every command that we are going to type here and clear the machine. First of all, you have to update your system. And this is important because if you have not updated for a very long time, the package sometimes complains about dependencies and whatnot. So it's best to upgrade the system to the latest level and then go from here. Okay, now that we have updated, so you can do this command yum install r, and this might install on your system. And the reason I say might is because you need to have a repository, Red Hat repository enabled. When I say Red Hat repository is not exactly correct. Let me correct myself. It's extra package for enterprise Linux repository that you need to enable. And after doing that, you will be able to install R on your system. Now, this EPEL repository is enabled by default for Fedora, but not for the other four operating systems that I just told you about, which is Red Hat, CentOS, Scientific Linux, and Oracle Linux. And the reason for that is Fedora is always a step ahead of all these versions, and so everything is enabled, and most packages are pre-installed on Fedora. Anyway, so we have to then install uh, EPEL repository. In case you have already installed this, then yum will simply say you have already installed. So because yum is idempotent in nature, so anything which is already installed, it does not touch that. It does not overlay anything new. It just says, okay, you already have it, so I'm not gonna even bother. So that's how you'll check whether your extra package for enterprise Linux is installed or not. And now you will go ahead and install your R binaries here. Now, if you notice that yum install R, and if I hit enter, it's gonna run through all the packages, not just R, but also it will see for itself what this system would need apart from R. I mean, what are the dependencies? So over here, if you see here, these are all the packages that I would need in order for me to be able to have R, functionable R, and these are the dependencies of that package, and these yum will take care of that. Uh, say in any other system, if you go and try the same thing, it may not be saying over in that system 254, it may be saying say 250 because 4 may already be installed. So this all always is different for all the operating system. One of the things I've learned over the years is that not to run yum install package name on all the systems since I have too many virtual machines. I try to download all these packages along with the dependencies on the system itself, and then I use that as an offline repository for all my virtual environment to be able to map into that virtual repository and get the packages they want. This way I don't have to download this these packages again and again and again for every single machine. And it just makes the things easier, especially when you are in an offline mode, going to say a Starbucks, and you open your laptop and try to do something, and suddenly you find a binary missing. You have that available in your hard drive, as opposed to you have to connect to the feeble connection of the Starbucks and download the package. Very rarely you would run Red Hat on in Starbucks, but if just in case. Okay, so what I will do is I will exit out of here and I will instead install the download these packages. And this you can do for any other package, not just for R. So one of the things that you will do is you will have to create a directory, and directory I will create this one. And now same command, you mention download only, mention the download directory. If you don't, then it will just save into var cache yum. So it's important that you mention the download directory, and that directory should exist. This folder should exist, which in my case it does because I just created one. And then you install, and then you simply hit enter. And what it's going to do is it's going to download every single package without installing them. Uh, So this will take, I think, a minute or two. I will pause the video now. All right, so it has downloaded all the packages, and it said exiting. I'm not installing because download only was specified. Now I must mention this is a version 7, 7.4 to be precise, of Red Hat, or CentOS for in this case. And so download only is one of the options in Yum, which is not available in version 6 without additional plugin. And that plugin would be this one. So if you're on Red Hat or CentOS or anything under version 6, then you may wanna, and if you wanna use download only option, then you have to first run this command. And this is a one-time only. Once you install the Yum plugin, download only plugin, then you can run the command that we just ran, just like normal in version 6 as well. Version 7, they included it as a part of the Red Hat 7 system. Okay, so now we have installed our binaries. We also need to install our studio, which is an IDE, which is where you will work actually. So for our studio, you would have to go to, say, our studio, put in the web search and go into our studio, and this is where you will land, and this is the first page. And after reaching here, you click on our studio, and here you'll get two options. One is a desktop, one is a server. Choose our studio server, and I'll tell you in a minute why would you do that. And one of the places here, okay, this is why you would do RStudio. Let's consider only free options. RStudio desktop versus server also gives you a web server along with. So if you have a web server, you can run this RStudio server on your machine, and you can also access this IDE from different computer within the same network using the web browser. And this is what we're gonna download, and we will also demonstrate how RStudio works on the web browser. So go on the download here, and now go to the Red Hat or CentOS, and most likely you will be using a 64-bit, so I'll just not waste time on 32. I'll just go straight here, and you can run this command. You can get to, uh, you have to create a directory. Okay, and this will download this RStudio package within the same directory. Okay, so this has done its job. Now we're gonna install the same way we had installed previously. Uh, I don't think we installed R anyway. So we have downloaded both R as well as RStudio, but we have not installed anything. So I'll just start installation right now. So if I go one directory up and go into R, remember this is the directory where I saved all the R binaries. I'm sorry if I said before the R is installed. It is not installed. I just downloaded it. So to install it, you have to go into the directory where you downloaded all the RPMs and depend R RPM as well as its dependencies. You go into there and you just do yum local install RPM asterisk dot RPM. So this way yum will take care of all the installation here, and you it's going to be faster since you're not downloading anything from the internet. It's just smooth sailing from this point onwards. Just say yes and go forward with that. And you cannot install RStudio before, because for RStudio to install, one of the dependency is to have R package already there. So it's best to do R first. In Linux environment, it matters less what you do before and after. It depends more on the Windows environment. They often complain about dependency not available, but it's a best practice to always do the recommended approach. Always go with that, and which means that R should be installed first and RStudio after that. Okay, so we are on the, yeah, we are finished with installation of R, and we installed once again R from this directory, which is temp R, and now we're gonna go, and this is where we have all the RPMs. As now these are your RPMs, you can use them in any other operating system, and if that new operating system does need more dependencies than you have, then in that case yum will download only those dependencies that is not available. And in case the new environment already has dependencies installed, then you are offering by doing yum install asterisk all the RPMs, then yum will skip the dependencies those are already installed. So yum is very smart in that case. But you have the all these RPMs available to you offline. So this is a good feature. Sometime on a server, it's not allowed to, or for some reason you cannot install the EPEL repository. If that is the case, then this is the standard way to download a package on a different system and then take the package in the USB drive and plug it into another server and then install it over there. So we just finished downloading R. Now we're gonna do RStudio, and this is RStudio. We'll just go similarly. Yes. Okay, so I paused the video just so you don't have to sit through it. Now you have, now if you see here, apart from just doing installation, it has also started this as a service. This you can check here. This is joker7.cartoon.biz is the host name, and it has said the starting RStudio server started RStudio server. So if you want to check this RStudio whether it's running or not, you can simply do systemctl command, and that will tell you what is the status going on right now. So it's running. And also you want to check if it's enabled or not enabled. So if it's enabled, that means it's enabled to be started with a server reboot. Sometimes you don't want that, sometimes you do want that. So based on your preference, do that. By default, it is enabled. And you also want to check all the one good command, which is yum info, and you have installed two packages. You want to make sure, uh, or just for the curious minds, what is R package, what it all entails, this description. It's just another way of knowing about the package apart from what RPM can offer you. And for that matter, you can also check yum info RStudio server, and the command for that is this one. Okay, so now we're gonna start the IDE on the web browser. So for that, you can open another and web browser, and go on this one. And the default address for you is the host name and the port number. The port number by default is 8787, so you simply plug in the host name with the port number, and that should do your uh, take you to the IDE of the uh, RStudio. Now, one thing that if you are on the same server, you will not have a problem going HTTP on this server, but you will not be able to log in into this server from another machine within the same network, and I'll tell you why after that, after a few minutes. So first we will log in into this IDE. This has come nicely, stating that enter your username and password, and also saying that your connection name is not secure. And this you can see from this icon. Now by default, when your connection is not secure, then you are not allowed by Red Hat firewall to be able to log in into that system. But if you're local and your browser is on the local host itself, then Red Hat firewall will allow you. In this case, you enter with your logged in user ID and and its password and get into the system. Okay, so this is your IDE. I believe I've previously installed it on the same system. That's why I kept on with some of the properties. If you were to install brand new, and this is the first time you're installing, then it won't be a black color for you. It will be most likely some other color. This is Chrome. Chrome would be there. So this is how it will be. This is your home directory, and this is a file of folders from your home directory, and these are global environments. Now you can go into this view, and you can change the panes which you allow or don't allow, and also you can go in the tools directory into the global options and check into say different areas that interest you. You can increase or decrease the font. I generally like Cobalt, so I change it to Cobalt, but you can cruise through and see which one suits you the best. I will do Cobalt, apply, and this is what is nice for me. And then pane layout, you can also check in which panes you want in here to appear on the system. Once okay, you're good to go. This is your IDE. You can function here. This is your I guess terminal. Yeah. Now, the question is, if you are running on your server, this browser and the RStudio service, then you don't have to bother anymore. You can just go your merry way and happy with it. Now, if you have a bunch of computers and all these developers working on their individual computer accessing the same server, RStudio server, and they want to fire up their IDE using the same URL, they probably will not be able to log in because your Red Hat server where RStudio is running will simply block the uh, non-secured request, HTTP request. So for that, you need to enable the port 8787 to be allowed to public. And for that, you need to run this command as a root user. You would run this command with port 8787, and then once you've done it, you need to reload your firewall as well. So reload the firewall, and this should give you uh, and now your developers can access the IDE from different machines. Another way to install RStudio, which is completely different and not much advertised on Google or anywhere else, is that you can download the Anaconda from Kanda distribution, and it downloads with bunch of IDE along with uh, several other packages. It downloads, say, Jupyter notebooks or Spider for you. You're not interested in that, but it also downloads or an option of RStudio installation is there, just in case if you want to explore that area as well. But for this, you are good with R and you're good with RStudio. Now you can go ahead and do some kick-ass programming. All right, if this video has helped you in any way, please consider giving a thumbs up.